SwoleBenji here. Today we'll go over how to be an alpha chad as a rogue. I'll give out nice macros to use, specs for leveling, PvP, and raiding. Cool tricks for doing the poison quest early, leveling lockpicking, soloing the outlaw sabre quest, and more. Check the pinned comment for timestamps to skip to what you want to learn. Anyways guys, let's get into it. Let's start small. For leveling, go combat. Only go remorseless if you're going to be chasing the best main hand weapons for your level and not doing many dungeons. Also, if you aren't ahead of the pack, you won't have mobs to chain kill anyway. Prioritize poisons early on as it's a huge damage increase. I see so many rogues not doing poisons, it's crazy. You'll want to focus on of the monkey greens as you level. Anything with agility and stamina. 1 agility equals 2 attack power and some crit, whereas 1 strength equals 1 attack power. Don't fall for the spirit meme, and don't carry gear set swaps as you'll want bag space for items. Put your slower, harder hitting weapons in the left slot. This is your main hand. Place faster, lesser hitting weapons in the right slot, or offhand. If you're fighting mobs that run away, use crippling poison on your offhand. Let's go over macros. One of my favorite is Stealth Cannibalize. This is amazing for grinding and PvP. Sometimes you'll need to sap a target you can't see. This macro can be spammed to hit them as soon as the client detects them within range. I'm not going to advise using a gouge bandage add-on as your gouge won't always land, therefore I recommend doing it manually. There's a lot more macros you can use, but I don't advise a lot of them. Mouse over events are iffy, weapon swap after ambushes, all can fail or create a disadvantage, so I never use them. One last macro I use all the time is automatic dismounting into stealth. If Classic has add-ons for auto-looting or auto-loot function, then pickpocket macros on all your stealth abilities is big, but I don't know the code on that right now. Also, I recommend looking into stop attack macros for your stealth, blind, gouge, sap, and vanish so that you don't accidentally shank someone after using a blind. Happens more than you think. Finally, a spammable pickpocket macro is great for raking in easy cash from clusters of mobs, but I don't know how to code that on Classic, sorry. A lot of people will advocate orcs for stun resistance and a PvE perk to raise their damage. Honestly though, play whatever you want and what makes you feel cool. I prefer undead because it's important to me to properly counter warlocks, priests, and intimidating shout. Stun resist helps with a few things, but I find Will of the Forsaken helps with so much more, even in PvE, as a lot of encounters sleep or fear you. Also cannibalize. Undead males just have the best animations. I won't roll on any other race for rogues. What about Alliance? Do whatever you prefer and think is fun. If you like making potions cause the auction house won't always have everything available, and you aren't social enough to ask in chat for an alchemist, then go alchemy and herbalism. I believe all rogues, even the PvE ones, should go engineering. For that, you'll want to have mining to cut down on costs. I also highly advise rogues go enchanting because once you get a decent set of tier 2 gear, you can start to solo farm bosses and disenchant their drops. Enchanting is my favorite moneymaker, friend maker, and you feel absolutely baller if you get a new piece of gear and immediately enchant it. Engineering lets you do so many cool things in the world and makes you far more powerful than a regular rogue. Gouge into Death Ray is a free eviscerate. There's no reason to go leatherworking when so many other people are, and it doesn't really help you in a fight or while farming. Tailoring has no use to rogues, there's just no reason not to go with mining and skinning at the start, and transition later into engineering and enchanting. As a rogue with improved gouge, you can easily stack 5 combo points and pool energy as long as you don't miss or get parried. Just gouge the mob while running away, and use throw weapon on the mob to keep it leashed onto you. You can do this to solo hard quest bosses assuming you land the hit. At level 22, you can solo the Rogue Poison quest. The mobs are designed to die to certain abilities. You can cheese this boss by using Ambush, Vanish, Ambush very quickly to drop the boss's health down to 10% or even outright kill it. I honestly prefer to use this spot to level lockpicking so I don't have to level it later, and I usually don't do this at 22, but you can if you want to. So to level lockpicking, make sure you have at least level 70 lockpicking, and then when you kill the boss at the top of the tower, lockpick the chest open, grab the item, and then delete the item by throwing it out, which will then allow you to lockpick the chest over and over and over. Do this until the boss respawns, kill the boss again, and repeat until your lockpicking is at level 150. It's a really good way to level lockpicking early on. My old vanilla notes say that wound poison ends up doing more damage than instant poison due to more procs per minute. I don't know if this is true for Classic or if I wrote this down for PvP or what? You should be using Wound in Battlegrounds anyway though. Someone fact check me on this. I do remember having Instant on the main hand and Wound on the offhand for mob grinding though. I don't know if that's ideal, so just look it up I guess. Speaking of poisons, spend a bit of silver to level your poisons. You want to be using the highest rank of instant poison you can as you level. So max your poison skill at levels 28, 36, 44, 50 for crippling 2, 52, and 60. This will give you the highest rank of instant and crippling, which are the main poisons you're going to be using while leveling, and will considerably speed up mob kill time. Always be using poisons. You can solo the Outlaw Sabre quest as a level 28 rogue. Just get the quest as normal, stealth to the spot where the boss is, summon the water elemental, and make sure to pull enough energy to save for kicks and gouges, and also to bandage. It can be done at earlier levels if you have good gear or you're a good player, but 28 is advised. Generally in dungeons, you want to fight mobs from behind to lower your miss rate. Tanks won't always turn the mobs around, and sometimes if you try to get behind mobs that aren't positioned properly by the tank, you could ass pull, or rather aggro mobs nearby from your backside, causing misfortune in your group. It isn't worth it to pull additional mobs for a slight damage increase. If you want to tag mobs quickly, gouge is the #1 skill in the game for mob tagging. If you were to multi-box a druid with moonfire and a rogue with gouge and hit the button at the same time, the rogue will always win the tag due to how the skill is coded. I got a comment saying that on Classic you can actually pick up swords at level 6, so as soon as you get 15 silver, 36 copper, go to Brill, buy a Gladius, then go to Undercity and train swords. Congrats, you're now even faster at grinding. See boys, it pays to subscribe. Hit the bell too so you don't get randomly unsubbed. I'm sure some new add-on will make this next tip obsolete, but you should set up your combat logs so that it activates any time the enemy faction does an action. This will allow you to hear the enemy without being able to see them, giving you time to stealth, /target them, and then go on the hunt. I have no idea how the new client works, so hopefully this is possible as it was a big deal in vanilla. Your PVE spec will differ depending on your gear and the content you're planning to farm, so you'll start with a basic combat sword spec. After Molten Core, you can switch to daggers, assuming you ever get the Perdition Blade. Once you've got AQ40 and Max Ramus gear, you can run Seal Fate or Dagger Seal Fate, my favorite PVE spec. For PvP, you want both Prep and Cold Blood. This basically allows you to 1v1 just about anyone and kill them if you blow every cooldown without them being able to do anything, assuming no attacks miss. You pretty much want a spec with Cold Blood and a dagger if you're doing any kind of group PvP. There will be plenty of opportunities to Cold Blood ambush a weak player who cycles to the back lines to heal. This never gets old. Improved sap is highly recommended so you can mess with other players and always have at least one of them crowd controlled. When just starting out on your fresh level 60 with crappy gear, you can pickpocket and farm boss mobs in Razorfin Downs. If you have herbalism, you can make a bit of money off Grave Moss, which will average about 80 silver each, and Purple Lotus for about 30 silver each. Once you have more gear and lockpicking, do Blackrock Depths, and eventually with the top end gear you can solo certain mobs in lower Blackrock Spire. As long as you're out in the world harvesting things or killing, you'll have more than enough cash for whatever you want. Sometimes you can get better deals than the auction house by finding groups of farmers. What I mean by that is, use some basic translations to find people willing to undercut the auction house and buy from them, as they are willing to sell fast at a discount to meet their farming quota. I don't have Spanish or Portuguese, but this should get you started. DPS rotation is simple. If you're not daggers, open with Sinister Strike. Don't eat up a debuff slot with Garrote. Don't eat up any debuff slots. Expose armor overrides Sunder armor. Bleeds override better debuffs from other classes. If you are daggers, open with Ambush, and if you are Seal Fate daggers, open with Backstab. Then, always keep your slice and dice up, no matter how many combo points you're at. If you have a good chunk of time on slice and dice and have 5 combo points, use Eviscerate. That's it. Just get your proper gear, do the rotation, use the spec provided earlier, and you'll top the meters. Just don't stand in the fire or get out of position. Leveling lockpicking is quite simple, but does get time consuming later on. I recommend doing this ASAP, only going to go over the Horde side. For 1 to 75, just open boxes in the pirate ship near Ratchet. To get to an easy 150, just abuse the Poison Quest chest, as explained earlier. I personally don't go here to level 30 to do this, as the boss will usually kill you. Don't loot the key from the goblin and use lockpicking to open the chest at the top of the tower and do it over and over until you're 150. In your 30s, go to Desolus and dive underwater to open the boxes there. These might not be available on launch day though. From there, go to Scarlet Monastery and repeatedly open the armory, cathedral, and the church doors. Then reset the instance and repeat until you're at level 200. Then to get to level 250, go to Searing Gorge and go into the Slag Pit Caves. After that, the rest will be leveled to 300 from Blackrock Depths. Pick the gate on the left at the entrance, then the door on the left, and then the Shadowforge lock. You want to prioritize lockpicking to open boxes as well as world chests. You'll need at least 25 for the starter dungeons, so get it right away. 175 lockpicking for Uldamon, and 250 for Blackrock Spire, Dire Maul, and Stratholme. You're going to need level 280 for the Skullomance door, and 300 for the Stratholme gates and Dire Maul's Crescent door. That's it for rogue stuffs. Sure, I could cover more, but there's just no time. Hope some of you based and red-pilled rogues found this useful. As far as tutorial videos go, there won't be any more for quite some time, as this channel will be streaming WoW Classic. I'll be playing on the NA server Scarum on Horde side, of course. I know I told some people I'd be going Thalnos, but it was a last-minute decision. I'll be rolling with a guild to make progression. If you're into ganking and chill rogue farming, then feel free to drop by and watch me stream right here on YouTube, not on Twitch. I do not and will not stream on Twitch. Come hit up the Discord if you have any questions. Feel free to hit up that donation link if you're well off in real life and want to help me pay for a coolant reservoir that needs replacement. Gonna cost a few hundred, and any little bit helps. I live in a van, so it's really risky to drive it without it possibly burning up. I have lots of other rogue stuffs on this channel, so feel free to check them out. I even made a guide that has every rare spawn, mining node, and all the top farm spots, all within an easy to screenshot format for quick consumption. The grind is going to take a while, and I have lots of stuff to do in the game before I can go back to making regular content. Anyways, just stick through the grind and I can deliver some epic content. If you like the Ooga Gang or Rich Turpin, they are literally copying my niche, as this channel will primarily be a rogue ganking channel for WoW's lifespan. I also want to play a few other games here and there, like Dead by Daylight. If you guys are interested in that stuff, just let me know in the comments. As always, be a bro and stay swole.